Hello everyone, this is Aaron Johnson with the Johnson iRacing team, bringing you a race today from Lanier National Speedway in Brazelton, Georgia. Today we'll watch 12 really fast Legends cars run 40 laps here on the low banks of Lanier National Speedway. Let's walk through the starting grid, starting in the 12th position. In car number 2, racing out of Michigan, that's Jeremy Spahn. In the 11th spot, in car number 1, racing out of South America, that's Nicholas Nieva. Starting 10th in car number 3, racing out of Illinois, that's Justin Baroni. In the 9th starting spot, in car number 12, he's going to start from the pits because he missed the starting grid entry time in the Pepperoni Pizza Legends car, that's Tim Doring. In the 8th starting spot, in car number 9, that will be Paul McNeese in the Baby Ruth Legends car. Starting 7th in car number 13, John Higgins Jr. in the Pabst Blue Ribbon car, John, racing out of New York. In the 6th spot, in car number 6, coming to us from the Mid-South region, that's Davin Byram. In the 5th spot, in car number 8, sponsored by Napa and Firehouse Subs, that's Kevin Taylor, racing out of Cumming, Georgia. This should be Kevin's home track. In the 4th starting spot, in car number 11, that's racing with us out of Destin, Florida, that's Baron Saber. And in the 3rd starting spot, in car number 5, coming to us from Australia, New Zealand, that's Brayton Sagasser. In the 2nd spot, front row outside, car number 7, that's the Pennzoil Legends car of Jonathan Delaney. Jonathan coming out of Kannapolis, North Carolina. And on the pole, in car number 4, the Breast Cancer Awareness Legends car, racing out of Conifer, Colorado, that'll be Jacob Johnson. Let's go ahead and join the action. The pace car jumps in into the pits, and Jake Johnson leads him to the flag. The 7 of Delaney gets a great jump. Delaney onto the outside, goes to the high side, looks to maybe get around Johnson here up high. And it looks like Delaney's going to make that pass. So Delaney takes the lead from Johnson. Johnson slides up and allows the 5 of Brayton Sagasser to go by. Jake Johnson on the first lap drops from 1st to 3rd here at Lanier National Speedway. Jonathan Delaney leads, Brayton Sagasser 2nd, Jake Johnson 3rd. We're going to ride along with Delaney. Delaney jumping out to a lead over the 5 of Sagasser. Johnson continues to be 3rd. That's Kevin Taylor in the 8 running 4th. And then John Higgins Jr. running 5th. Looks like Higgins may have gone by Taylor. He has, so the 13 moves up into 4th, and then sliding into the 5th spot, all kinds of action back here. Looks like the 6 of Davin Byram. Back up front with the 7 of Jonathan Delaney. Delaney continues to lead. They come past the start-finish line. Delaney into turn 1. We're on lap 5 of 40. Jonathan Delaney stretching that lead out over the 5 of Sagasser, followed by Johnson in the 4, then Higgins, Byram, Saber, and Kevin Taylor rounding out the top 7. The 7 of Delaney leads lap number 5. Delaney continuing to stretch that lead. Jonathan Delaney starting to pull away early in the race. Delaney pushing that car pretty hard. Will it come back to bite him, or will he stretch that lead out to the point that it's insurmountable? Only laps will tell. Lap number 7 begins. Jonathan Delaney continues to lead, followed by the 5 of Sagasser, then the 4 of Johnson, the 13 of Higgins, and the 6 of Byram. Let's go back and ride along with Sagasser, who is about 10 car lengths back. Jake Johnson about 2 car lengths back of Sagasser. Sagasser around the lapped 1 car, that's Nicholas Nieva. The 5 continues to hold 2nd over Jake Johnson. Johnson about 3.5 car lengths back. We're on lap 8 of 40, now 9 of 40. Jonathan Delaney continuing to lead and to stretch that lead out. Jake Johnson closing just a bit on the 5 of Brayton Sagasser. A little further back, it's the 13 of Higgins. Higgins about 10 car lengths back of Johnson, and then behind Higgins, the 6 of Davin Byram. After Byram, it's Saber, McNeese, Taylor, Baroni, and Spahn. Back up front, it's the 7 car of Jonathan Delaney, all by his lonesome, as he's stretched the lead out now to about 15 car lengths, nearly a straightaway over the 5 of Sagasser. Delaney, Sagasser, Johnson, Higgins, and Byram running 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Delaney down into turn number 3, rolls through the apex of 3 and 4, now out onto the front straightaway. He's closing on the 2 car of Jeremy Spahn. That car is in the 10th position. Delaney getting ready to put the 10th place car a lap down. Delaney looks underneath as he comes down the back straightaway, gets a little sideways as it looked like the 2 cars might get together, but Delaney makes his way past the lapped car of Jeremy Spahn. Behind Delaney, it's the 5 of Sagasser continuing to hold about a 4-car length advantage over the 4 of Jake Johnson. We are on lap 13 of 40, and Jonathan Delaney showing the way over the 5 of Sagasser and the 4 of Johnson. Johnson in the race for the cure of the Susan G. Komen breast cancer awareness car. Johnson now coming up on the lapped 2 car of Jeremy Spahn. Sagasser made short work of Spahn. Johnson looking to do the same, hoping to keep that 5 car within his sights. Johnson underneath the 2 down the front straightaway into turn 1. The 2 of Spahn giving Johnson plenty of room. Johnson closing ever so slightly on the 5 of Sagasser. Back up front, it's absolutely Jonathan Delaney running away with this race. Delaney now with a straightaway lead. Johnson looking underneath. Looks like Johnson was looking underneath the 5, and he was. Johnson made a pass on the 5. Jake Johnson has moved into 2nd spot here on lap 17 of 40. Jake Johnson hoping to run down the 7 of Jonathan Delaney. Johnson about a straightaway behind, 17 laps in. Delaney continues to lead. He comes out of turn number 4 onto the front straightaway. Jake Johnson in 2nd, Sagasser 3rd, John Higgins 4th, Davine Byron 5th, Paul McNeese 6th, Kevin Taylor 7th. Out front, it's Jonathan Delaney into turn number 3 through the apex of 3 and 4 out onto the front straightaway now. Delaney continues to lead. We are on lap number 19 of 40. Jonathan Delaney with the lead, but it looks like Jake Johnson has begun to close the gap on the 7 car. Johnson working diligently to track that 7 car back down after the 7 stretched the lead to nearly a straightaway. Jake Johnson's cut it to about 2/3 of the straightaway. We are on lap number 20. Next time by will be the halfway point. Jonathan Delaney has led every lap so far after taking the lead from Jake Johnson on lap number 1. Delaney out of turn 4 onto the front straightaway. You can see that Jake Johnson has closed slightly on the Pennzoil 7 of Delaney. It's Delaney, Johnson, Sagasser, Higgins, Byram, McNeese running the top 6. We are at the halfway point. Delaney leads. Delaney now leads lap 21. Jonathan Delaney continues to lead, but Jake Johnson, make no doubt about it, Jake Johnson is closing that gap. Johnson tracking down the 7 of Delaney. It's Delaney, Johnson, Sagasser running 1, 2, 3, but at this point in time, Jonathan Delaney and Jake Johnson have stretched out a big lead over the rest of the field. Johnson about 10 car lengths back, maybe 12 back now, really closing the gap in 3 and 4. Jake Johnson seems to get through turn 3 and 4 much better than the 7 of Delaney. Johnson closing on the 7 of Delaney. Johnson now within 2 car lengths, 17 to go. Jake Johnson has tracked down the 7 consistently over these last dozen laps or so, much quicker than that Pennzoil machine. Jake Johnson beginning to work on the 7 out of turn 4 onto the front straightaway. Delaney leads lap number 25. There are 15 to go. Jake Johnson looking to the inside of the 7 up high, Johnson down low. The 7 bounces off the wall, looks underneath the 3. 7 past the lap 3 car of Justin Baroni. Jake Johnson looks to the inside of the 7 again. No dice. The 7, Jonathan Delaney, holding a quick line here out of turn number 4 onto the front straight, or onto the back straightaway, out of turn 2. It's Delaney followed by Johnson. Johnson continuing to work on the 7 car. Johnson much better out of turn number 4 than Delaney is. Johnson looks to the inside in turn 1. Delaney closes the door. Delaney down low onto the yellow line, now out high onto the back straightaway. Jake Johnson glued to Delaney's back bumper. They come into turn number 3. Delaney all 4 wheels below the yellow line. Jake Johnson looks to the high side. Delaney holds onto the race car up against the wall. Johnson 2 car lengths back there, 12 to go. Jake Johnson really working hard on the 7 car of Delaney. Johnson looks underneath Delaney as they come down the back straightaway. Nothing doing. Both cars underneath the lap 2 car. It's Delaney on the high side, Johnson on the low side. Looks like Johnson may have him as they go into turn number 1. Johnson on the low side, Delaney on the high side. The 2 cars side by side, inches apart. Jake Johnson looks like he may have a chance to get by the 7. And Johnson with the lap car in the way. Johnson goes low, the 7 goes high, the 7 of Delaney up high. Delaney bounces off the wall, spins the race car. Jake Johnson's going to take the lead. It's going to be Jake Johnson up front, followed by the 7 of Delaney, then the 5 of Braden Sagasser. Jake Johnson makes his way past the 7 of Delaney. Johnson out front with 10 to go. This time by 9 to go. Jake Johnson now with a big lead over the 7 of Delaney. Johnson first, Delaney second, Braden Sagasser third. That 7 car, the recipient of a little bit of bad luck, trying to go around that lap car on the outside, then touching the wall. That made for a difficult transition. Jake Johnson leading the 7 of Delaney second, the 5 of Braden Sagasser well back in third. It's Johnson, Delaney, Sagasser. Let's jump back in with Delaney and see if he's got anything at all left. He is so far behind now, doesn't look like he'll have the opportunity to catch Jake Johnson. Delaney, 7 to go, 5 seconds back. Delaney will have to make up 5 seconds in 7 laps. It doesn't look like he's going to do it. Let's hop back in with Jake Johnson as Jake Johnson, now 6 to go, this time by. Johnson working on the lap 6 car. That's Davin Byram. Johnson has now put everyone but the top 4 cars a lap down, and he's working on the 13 of John Higgins Jr. Higgins in 4th. Johnson looks to the inside. Higgins behind the 8 of Kevin Taylor. Johnson puts Higgins a laps down. That leaves 3 cars on the lead lap. Jake Johnson, Jonathan Delaney, and Braden Sagasser. Johnson 5 to go. Now 4 to go this time by. Johnson with a big lead, holding on to maybe make his way past the lap 2 car of Spahn. Spahn looked like he had a little bit of trouble. Johnson closing in on the 3 of Justin Baroni again. There will be 3 to go this time by. Jake Johnson looks to the inside of Baroni. It's Johnson, Delaney, Sagasser. The top 3 only cars on the lead lap are those 3. Jake Johnson holding a blistering pace as he comes out of turn number 4 onto the front straightaway. 2 to go. Jake Johnson with a 6-second lead over the 7 of John Delaney, followed by the 5 of Braden Sagasser. It's Johnson, Delaney, Sagasser, Higgins, Byram, as Jake Johnson will come out of turn number 4 and take the white flag this time by. Jake Johnson, last lap, comes up on the lap 5 car of Braden Sagasser, trying to put Sagasser a lap down. Jake Johnson will put Sagasser a lap down, and Jake Johnson will have lapped all of the field except for the 2nd place car of Jonathan Delaney. That's the race. Jake Johnson with a big win here at Lanier National Speedway, taking over on lap number 30 after sitting on the pole, falling back just a little bit early in the race. But it's going to be Jake Johnson with the win, followed by Delaney in the 7, then Braden Sagasser, John Higgins Jr., and Davin Byram will round out the top 5. Paul McNeese finishes 6th, Baron Saber 7th, Kevin Taylor 8th, Justin Baroni 9th, and Jeremy Spahn will round out the top 10. From Lanier National Speedway in Brazelton, Georgia, this is Aaron Johnson for the Johnson iRacing team on the Johnson iRacing Network, saying go fast, turn left, have fun.